Uh-oh.
In her last two fights. Good way hitting him from that way down.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. IBF interim champion from right here in the United States, Yoshida Metcalf, took to her social media and tagged the reigning IBF champion, Yoshida, saying, "Come up off that belt. The order is being called. What do you have to say now? Stop being scary and stop trying to get out of the fight. You're either going to hand it over or I'm going to take it. But either way, it's mine." If Yoshida Metcalf seems impatient with Mio, she has a right to be. You see, Yoshida Metcalf beat Yoshida for IBF interim status last year. This can get a little sordid, so that after Yoshida Metcalf beat Yoshida, Mio was afforded an opportunity at Ebony Bridges' then IBF title as a late replacement because Ebony Bridges' original opponent had dropped out. Right. Next thing you know, Yoshida upsets Ebony Bridges, beats her, becomes IBF champion ahead of Yoshida Metcalf, who didn't get her shot, who didn't get her opportunity, and she's been waiting ever since, and growing more and more impatient over time. It's been 9 going on 10 months since Yoshida was crowned IBF champion. If this order came down, it's a byproduct of the big fat nothing that's been going on at 118 pounds. Rumors and rumblings about an 8-woman tournament that would feature all 3 champions at this weight, Yoshida, Dina Thorsland, Shernika Johnson, a few former champions, Yoshida Metcalf as well. Yoshida Metcalf was said by Lou DiBella to also be participating in the tournament if they could get it financial backing. I can only deduce that all these weeks later, they didn't. Lou DiBella couldn't find anybody to pick it up, so Mio's on the hook. Mio has to fight Yoshida again. I don't really think she wants to. Yoshida said, "The IBF has given me a mandate for a rematch with Metcalf. The question is whether or not I can surpass myself from the last time. I will defend and move on to the next step. I don't have the time for the English language skills to deal with the slander, so I will work hard until October 23rd. October 23rd. Is that the deadline for the fight to take place? Is that the deadline for the fight to happen? And is that when we can expect it to happen? Doesn't really give them a lot of time. Most of September has come and gone. There's basically just a little over a week left in this month for a fight that would go down late next month. We'll see. So what I remember from the first fight is that Yoshida Metcalf stayed on the perimeter of the ring, circling away from Yoshida, beating those feet and moving around. As Yoshida tried her best to get close to Yoshida, it was hard to do, at least in the beginning. And Mio doesn't start landing meaningful punches, hard punches, until the tail end of the fight. As Yoshida Metcalf starts to slow down and tire, Mio starts getting in with some good stuff, but by then, it was too little and too late. She had already lost too many rounds, and thus, her current reign as champion all hinges on whether or not she can learn from the first fight, learn to cut off the ring, get close to Yoshida Metcalf sooner, to land meaningful punches sooner. Mio has some of the right ingredients, some of them, to beat an outside fighter, except the most important one: footwork and foot speed. She doesn't know how to cut off the ring. She's got the aggression, she's got volume, but she's got no footwork. Without that, the other stuff doesn't even come into it. You don't get to use your power, or your combinations, your aggression, if you can't get so much as close to the opponent. That's what won Yoshida the first fight. She's a taller, longer fighter that's lighter on her feet.
And that's likely what she's going to do again. She's going to build on the success that she had in the first fight by doing more of the same thing.
It's Mio that has to change. It's Mio that has to add to her repertoire. The main thing is cutting off the ring. Moving parallel to the opponent instead of just following them in a straight line. Moving parallel to them, with them, and using the corners
To meet them there.
It's a subtle shift. Using the corners to make that beeline in order to close off the opponent's exits.
So they don't get away.
If Mio Yoshida can't make that correction and add to it, she's gonna lose that belt. It'll just be a repeat of the same fight. Cutting off the ring, using the jab and doubling up on the jab as you close distance to keep Sharita's guns holstered so that you can get close enough, long enough, to land some punches.
She's got to do it.
I know that Mio likely aspired to fight in a big fight for decent money against one of the other champions at the weight, but none of them have a major promoter behind them. Neither Dina Thorsland or Shernika Johnson. 9 months.
And nothing.
She's been IBF champion for 9 going on 10 months, and there hasn't been a whole lot of movement in the bantamweight division.
At least not in that direction, the direction of unification matches, so here we are. I don't think she wanted this, but she doesn't have a choice now.
It's an uphill battle. It's not a huge change that Mio has to make. She already has some of the right ingredients, the engine, the combination punching. She just needs to get her footwork in order.
If she can't, her reign as champion will end before it even begins.
The heat is on for the IBF champion Mio Yoshida, and we'll see what she does. In the men's welterweight division, some good news for Matchroom and some not so good news for Stanionis, this division's newly crowned reigning WBA champion. The WBA have now officially ordered Stanionis to defend his WBA welterweight world title versus Shakram Giyasov next. Parties have 30 days until October 19th to agree to a deal, then purse bids.
I don't want to be presumptuous, but you don't get the sense that Matchroom is going to break the bank for this fight, that they're not going to offer Stanionis for Giyasov what they just offered him to unify with Boots. It's going to be less.
For what is a high-risk, low-reward opponent, I want to say, that's what he is. He's a decorated amateur, Shakram Giyasov. He won a silver medal at the 2016 Summer Olympics as a welterweight. He's been fighting as a Matchroom fighter for some time now in the pros.
I told you this would happen. That Stanionis might have felt that he got the monkey off his back in Matchroom when it came to that Boots Ennis fight, but he only got the monkey off his back temporarily. That in order to fight Shakram Giyasov would not be far behind.
Matchroom wants that WBA title, and they're going to do whatever they have to do. Use whoever they have to use to get it, whether it's Boots Ennis or Shakram Giyasov, who looks a lot like a Mexican Billy Zane.
Oh, I never noticed that.
Oddly enough, he's from Uzbekistan. A live animal in this fight, a live dog. One more live than I think Stanionis would have liked to have to deal with, and when he deals with him, well, it's not going to be for big money. That whoever ends up hosting this fight, whether it's the PBC or Matchroom, it's not the kind of fight you break the bank over. It's not gonna be for a lot of money. I see a situation to where they may not be able to reach a deal. They might not. Stanionis may not like the money that Matchroom is offering for a fight. The purse bid rolls around,
And he's stuck.
whether PBC wins a purse bid or Matchroom wins a purse bid, you still have to fight this guy. You still have to deal with this guy, and he might be hard to deal with.
For not a lot of money.
So where Stanionis may have thought that he could turn his nose up at Matchroom's offer to unify titles with Boots Ennis, where he may have thought that he had the luxury of time and the luxury of choice, apparently not. You're gonna have to deal with Matchroom one way or another. Last in action in May of this year, opposite the ring, Gabriel Maestre, who he won a unanimous decision against, didn't look that good doing it because he had a lot of ring rust to shake off. Before that, he hadn't fought in over a year.
Lost a year on what was supposed to be the Virgil Ortiz fight that never materialized because Virgil fell ill, subsequently ended up moving up. You know the story.
But Stanionis was last in action in May of this year, where Shakram Giyasov was last in action a little bit more recently in July. Before that, in February, Shakram has been busy. He fought 2 times this year. If this fight goes down before the end of it, this will be his 3rd fight.
He'll be as sharp as he can be.
And Stanionis is not
so experienced a fighter, so experienced in this division that he's head and shoulders above Shakram Giyasov. Both boys only have about 16 fights. Stanionis has got 16. Giyasov has got 16.
The way it is. You circumvented a Boots Ennis fight to extend your reign as champion, avoiding a fight that you thought you might lose. That's what it is.
I ain't gonna beat around the bush.
Just to end up in another situation, another fight that you might lose, but this time for less money. I don't know what, if anything, the PBC was going to have Stanionis doing for the remainder of this year, because it's not like they're doing a whole lot of shows to close it out, right? We know he's not unifying with Mario Barrios. We know there was no effort to do that fight because news broke that Mario Barrios is fighting on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. So the PBC wasn't doing that. They weren't going to put Mario in the ring with Stanionis. I don't know what, if anything, they were going to have him doing. He's got to fight now, whether he wants to or not. The question is, will he accept Matchroom's offering for the Giyasov fight? If he doesn't, when it goes to a purse bid, who wins?
How much money is the PBC willing to put up to win the rights for this fight and keep their champion on their side of things?
Because it's not a hot ticket. It's not a big fight. It's not the kind of fight you break the bank over, whether you're the PBC or Matchroom. So how much money is the PBC willing to put up to at least give their fighter home field advantage, home field, so to speak, that he would be fighting under the same banner he usually fights under?
How much?
They cheap out on this thing. He might end up having to go to Matchroom anyway, and we know he didn't want to do that. You didn't want to go over there for Boots Ennis, so I'm sure you don't want to go over there for an even lesser known guy in Shakram Giyasov. But depending on how this cookie crumbles, you might.
This is good news.
For the boxing fan and for the welterweight division. As a fight, Stanionis versus Giyasov actually isn't bad. This battle of the unbeatens for Stanionis' WBA title. It promises to be an action fight because both Stanionis and Giyasov are action fighters.
It's a good fight.
But what else is good about it is it keeps things moving along in the welterweight division, and they need to. It keeps things moving and forces the fighters, forces the champions to act. That you don't want to unify with Boots. You're not making any effort to unify with each other. You're not doing much of anything. So now you have to fight one way or another.
You're gonna fight.
You don't get to squat on that belt. You don't get to sit around on your hands holding it hostage. One way or another, you have to fight.
You're gonna fight.
Whether you like it or not. This is how divisions stagnate. This is how divisions die and end up like the middleweight division that almost nobody talks about these days because the champions are staying away from each other and there just isn't a whole lot going on. Not much is happening.
We don't need another division like that in boxing.
So this is good news, and this is actually a good fight. I look forward to seeing it irrespective of where it goes down.
On the Matchroom side or the PBC side, it's a good fight either way.
In men's heavyweight news ahead of this weekend's mega match, rumors are still swirling about Don Charles and Daniel Dubois. There was a Boxing Scene article published earlier today that stated Don Charles is suffering from an illness and it's unclear if he will be in the corner on fight night.
That's not the only version of the rumor that's out there, but that's what Boxing Scene published.
Daniel Dubois' trainer, Don Charles, has been absent from Fight Week proceedings due to a cold, and it is uncertain if he will be in the corner on fight night. Dubois is heading into the biggest fight of his career to date against Anthony Joshua at Wembley Stadium on Saturday night, and might be doing so without his head trainer. Speculation that there had been a rift in Dubois' camp started earlier this week when Charles was absent from the team meetings and the open workout on Wednesday.
A head cold is how Boxing Scene explains the situation, but the previous rumor suggested that the rift was between Don Charles and Daniel's dad.
Sky Sports News has today reported that the reason for Charles' absence is due to the trainer suffering from a cold and that Team Dubois are taking no chances this close to the fight. That's why he's not there. They have also rubbished rumors of a split and insisted that Charles' absence is to stop the spread of his illness. He will, however, not be at the Fight Week press conference later today.
But you know who was? Old Fish Eyes, Frank Warren. He was there. He caught wind of the rumors. This is how he responded.
There's my man. Come here. You see all this nonsense from Spencer Fearon. It's bullshit.
Yeah, Spencer's a troublemaker, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Final prediction. Come here.
Yeah.
Final prediction on Saturday is he is going to stop him. He's going to knock him out.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna silence all the haters, all the troublemakers. You know who you are out there. Spencer Fearon, he's a terrible guy. He's got, it's just another.
Show him them rocket launchers.
Yeah.
They're going to be in action
the
on
gun.
Saturday. Them bombs are going to land.
They mentioned Spencer Fearon by name, and Spencer Fearon has done his part to spread this rumor that there is some sort of rift between Daniel's dad and Don Charles.
This is what Spencer had to say about it.
This is biblical terminology. And when you're dealing with biblical terminology, the iniquity or the iniquitous, they're the people who are unrighteous, they're the people immoral, they're the people that got nothing to do with me saying anything about Daniel Dubois. He's actually a nice kid. But his father deals with judge. His father deals with black magic. I'm saying it. I don't care. Yes, I've said it. Now, anyone want to turn around and say, oh, no, Spencer, you can't say it. I have said it. So, therefore, that is iniquity. You know what I mean?
How do you know that?
It's nothing to do with Daniel. I mean, Daniel's father, he's working judge. And that's that.
There'll be people listening to this saying, what the effing hell are you on about? But you're saying Dan's dad's putting a spell on Anthony Joshua.
Putting no spell on nobody. You know what I mean? Because in order to put a spell on someone, through no work of iniquity ain't getting no victory over Anthony Joshua. I've said it, and I'm sticking by it. And if you have a problem with it, you know where to find me.
So what's fight week without some kind of drama, some kind of rumors, problems in the corner, problems in the camp, voodoo dolls, and bad juju, dissension? That's what Spencer Fearon is talking about, and Spencer Fearon, for what it's worth, he doesn't have no hair on his tongue. He's going to tell you exactly what he's thinking. I don't think he made all of this up.
Not for the sake of making it up per se, because he's been so open about it. He's been so vocal. If you want to hold him to his word, he's made himself available for you to do that.
You can. And it wouldn't be the first time that we heard that Daniel Dubois' father was getting a little bit too involved with what's happening in the corner, in the camp. I remember hearing that he gave Shane McGuigan an ultimatum, who he can train, Carolyn or Daniel, because he didn't want him to train them both. That this isn't the first time that we've heard that Daniel's father is meddling.
It's just now we're hearing it from Spencer.
Some colorful comments about juju, voodoo magic that he may be trying to use against Anthony Joshua to secure Daniel the victory. This is getting scary.
Halloween is right around the corner.
The way it is, if there really were a problem between Daniel's father and Don Charles, I don't think they'd be open about it, vocal about it, ahead of such a big fight, ahead of such a big night. That if it were the way that Spencer says it is, they're not going to have that out there in the open for everybody to know about it.
They would downplay it.
Not going to come right out and say it. At the same time, the explanation that is being provided, that what it really is Don Charles is sick. He's contagious. He doesn't want to get Daniel sick ahead of the fight, so he's keeping his distance. It could be that way too. That makes a lot of sense.
He's not going to be around him on fight week for fear he might infect him, and that might affect his performance, but he will be in his corner the night of.
But doesn't that run the same risk of infecting Daniel too?
Yeah, but not at the same time. I mean, he's not going to get sick right away. It's not anthrax.
It's not the T virus in Raccoon City. Daniel having him in his corner won't make him sick right away.
Come on.
The outcome of this fight, at least for me, never boiled down to Don Charles being there or not being there anyway.
I think Anthony's going to knock him out. I always thought Anthony was going to knock him out. Whether Don Charles is there or he's not there.
That's how I have it.